Hey guys, this is going to be another look at ES on various time frames, starting on the weekly log chart. Because this is the king of charts, and the market has a good way of sucking you into the smaller time frames and making you lose track of what it's trying to do big picture wise. And so that's why I keep coming back to this chart and starting on this chart. And so, as you know, we've been in this channel and there's been a series of weekly extensions that started off of last August high, and they run from a 618 retracement to a 618 target. There are a series of highs to highs extensions. Sometimes they dip in and retest like they do right there. And so the extension we were watching in this trend was from the May high to the September high of this year. And it looked like the series broke, right? It's interesting. I was talking to a professional trader, and he was saying that, technically on the weekly chart, what is most important is the weekly close. And we were talking about this series specifically, and he said, if you switch to a line chart, you get one print a week, and it's the weekly close. And so if you draw this series, from the May high to the end of August high, on a weekly closing basis, the series actually did not break. And what's more, we didn't even close a weekly candle outside of the channel right here. And so, if you switch back to the candle chart, you can see the wicks intra-week price activity, but this is drawn from this candle close to this candle close. There's no close below the 618, and they were even meticulous about not closing outside of this channel. This closes on it, and then this closes back on it after wicking below. So, this caused me to rethink this series and think that maybe it's not broken, and maybe they're getting one more push out of it. And so, by the same token, there's two sort of yellow colored resistance lines here. The lower one is drawn through the weekly closes, and we wicked through it last week. And the upper one is just drawn highs to highs. And so we had a reaction there. And so coming into this week, it was actually an easy short for a lot of reasons that we'll get into. But it's arguable whether we front ran this 618 target by about 10 points. Uh, there was a target and a weekly log trend line resistance line that we had a reaction to. It's arguable whether we've captured this target or not. Um, but we are trading another highs to highs extension. All of this is to say simply that I think now that you cannot call this trend dead until we get a weekly close outside of this channel or below the next highs to highs extension, which if you draw on a weekly closing basis, so if we switch back, well, actually we can do that on the candle chart. So this is just drawn highs to highs right now. But if we draw it through the weekly closes, this is the highest close we have so far. Well, in that case, it would not have traded. So maybe it hasn't traded if you're drawing close to close. If you're drawing highs to highs, it has traded. So that's a variation we need to watch out for. The other thing I want to point out, well, two things. I keep coming back to this down here, and if you measure this dip in from the 618 retracement to the low, that's about a 4.3% dip in. And if we go to the highs and measure the dip in from the 618 target to the high last week, then that is about, actually I need to get in closer to do that. So from this 618 target to this high is about a 4.1% dip in. So it's exactly comparable to the dip in we had at the bottom, which I think is interesting, which suggests that, perhaps this is, if we had an underthrow at lows, perhaps this is a last gasp overthrow at highs. You know, every trader I follow has thrown in the towel on all bearish scenarios and is now adamantly bullish, which I just think is very interesting because this sort of topping formation is, well, it's a topping formation, I think. Unless we are heading to the log scale fib target at 5400, which I suppose is still possible because we technically haven't broken this weekly trend. The other thing I want to point out is, I like Bollinger Bands as something to look at. It's never a reason to take a trade, but it's something that can confirm or not confirm a setup. And so I use, the default is simple moving averages. I use exponential because it smooths out some of the weirdness. And so it's common to get one or two weekly closes outside of the weekly Bollinger Band. But it's actually unusual to have virtually the entire body of a weekly candle outside of the weekly Bollinger Band. And so I went back looking for other instances where that happened, and the closest example I can find is back in here when we were in the run up to 2000. We were outside of this purple channel, and we had this candle right here. And so what happened is we made a high outside, we bounced off of it exactly like we've done now. We ripped up outside the weekly Bollinger Band, and then we came back inside, and that was that higher high coming exactly like now on an overbought weekly condition, but on a divergence, higher high in price, lower high in RSI, outside of the weekly purple channel. I mean, that's a good, that fractal is a good analog. The difference, of course, well, I mean, you could argue that we're also at a 618 target in a series. We're not at the, I think they were trading off of this high. Well, it doesn't matter. So, you know, printing weekly candles outside of the weekly Bollinger Band is a sign of an extreme. Whether it's a blow off or not, who knows. So, is that everything I wanted to talk about on the weekly chart? I think so. So we need to watch this next extension, whether it's highs to highs or on the line chart weekly close to weekly close. Okay, and so in terms of the smaller time frames, let's see here. Yeah, so we're correcting out of this channel, and to me, this looks like 5 waves down. Um, and I'm not an Elliott wave expert by any stretch. I'm a layperson. I keep it simple, but it looks like 5 waves down, which means that we could conceivably have a correction up into some sort of retracement and then have a third wave down for a larger correction. But we've bounced again off of the highs extension, and we bounced again. There was a confluence of support at the top of this pink channel that we blasted out of and then back tested 1, 2, 3, 4, at least 5 times. So this is the 6th instance that this line has acted as support. So I mean, I suppose it's possible to try to interpret this as some sort of ABC correction, and we're going to have a 5th wave up and actually touch the 618 weekly target. What makes that sort of hard to believe is where we are on the weekly candle, right? We're already outside the Bollinger Band, and so to have a fifth wave ripping up to 47.23 seems hard to believe, I guess. But if that were going to be a fifth wave, then it would more or less go straight up there, I would imagine. So again, on the weekly log chart, watch for the overhead resistance and watch for the 618 target. I wanted to keep this short. Is this everything I wanted to talk about? So again, on the hourly chart, it looks like a one down, right? An ABC, and then a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 into a 3, and then some sideways 4, and then a fifth down. And then going up, it's a, the technical name on the 5 minute chart over here, you can see it better. For this pattern is a leading diagonal, I suppose, right? Because all of the waves overlap. 1 up, 2 down, 3 up, 4 down, overlapping, and then maybe 5 up. And then this looks like a choppy sideways B wave. And then maybe we're going to have a C wave up into some sort of technical retracement level. So maybe tomorrow will be VIX Crush Friday, and we'll push it up into some retracement. I do find it interesting how they seem to save these chop fest B waves for the New York session. You know, their sole purpose seems to be to chop traders up, run stops, provide liquidity to larger traders needing to get positioned. And so today was so interesting because you could have sold the open and bought the close, and your day would have been perfect. So I stopped trading when I saw this start to develop, and my focus was on CL today. So it's possible that this is an A and this was a B, and maybe tomorrow we'll get a C, or even overnight they'll try to push it up on the thinnest volume imaginable at the lowest cost. So again, the key message is watch weekly closes on the weekly chart. And that's it. Thanks, guys.